Welcome back, everybody, as we prepare to angle through oblivion for the final time. This is Group 4 in Round 3 of the Invitational, composed of these three gentlemen right here. Moving from left to right, we have the VRX4-10 Phoenix that is Argentum. In the center, the pile of parts that form the Tranquish, and on the right-hand side we have Zoidberg himself, who is, I guess, partially, mostly a Capra. Group 4 is more similar than dissimilar. They're all on JConcepts tires. They all run on 4S, and like those who have come before them, they all must face the spinner. The spinner has been spending his evenings outdoors, which I think has helped the bearing wood interface area, as he no longer spins for 2 full minutes when the arrow is given a twirl. He comes around relatively quickly, landing on Argentum the Phoenix, who will be running first today. This might be a stumbling block to some, but it has never seemed to slow down Argentum. Now we are going to see who runs second between these two gents here. And it comes to a nice quick stop on Zoidberg. So Zoidberg will be running second. The Tranquish will be closing out this round of the Invitational. And as we waste no time, we pull directly up to the line. As was mentioned, Argentum is a Vanquish VRX4-10 Phoenix. And he is unquestionably the most stock vehicle in the competition. The only thing that has been done is the aluminum bits have been put inside the gearbox in an attempt to mitigate the click, and they did not do this. So Argentum knows what he needs to do. He's fitted with JConcepts Tusks. They are particularly well suited to this sort of terrain. Argentum has done really well on Oblivion in the past, and that was both before and after Oblivion got some of its little DG fill to kind of natural it out. This is a rough gate. Gate 2 has been a rough gate for everyone. I don't think that's going to change here. Argentum clips the top and clips the bottom for good measure. Finally just pushes it off. Gate 3, on the other hand, has been particularly easy for everyone. Just kind of line it up. We'll see if Argentum is going to show off and use dig to pull around this corner, and of course he is. He doesn't have himself positioned remarkably well there. It might have been worth the extra couple seconds to spin it out onto the flat and come back around. Let's get a little, that's not explicitly the line you want to be on. The tire has dropped in. See if he has enough to pull that back up. Does not. Took a much better bite of reverse there. A little first out on the course jitters, perhaps. Somewhat unusual for the Phoenix. He has less ground clearance than the rest of the team out on the rocks today, but I would probably figure the lowest CG of the trio. This is also a trio that's quite heavy. The lightest of the three is just over 7 pounds. When you get up to 4S, and Zoidberg is on big 2.2 Ruptures, things get big and things get heavy. Argentum now coming up at the second sort of off angle gate here. Trying to dig himself into a little bit better of a line. I think his narrow track, he is pulled in clear of that, and by just a hair there he dropped down. Very narrow front bumper enables him to get up over that transition pretty easily. He's taking a little wide shot out because I believe he will dig his way around through 6. And does. Doesn't have the best... Oh, there we are. Didn't have the best angle on the first cut, but see a little hang there on the pumpkins on the way down. Comes through, pretty much no problems, as we would expect from Argentum the Phoenix. That's a pretty stock performance from him. That will lead us directly into the second competitor, the penultimate runner of this section. Zoidberg, with the double question marks around Capra, is the only parts of Zoidberg that remain Capra are his front and rear axles, and the front axle is one of those cheap Amazon alloy ones because he broke his plastic one what feels like a long time ago, and it was planned to replace it with another plastic one, and then we just never remembered to do it. So he's still running that pot metal front axle, which apparently seems to hold up to it. The Ruptures, I don't know if it's a combination of the size or the wheelbase. He's just kind of hung out in the middle here, getting through one. He's well under control, but one would expect him to claw up this a little more easily, and there he's through. Zoidberg has a lot of extra stuff, let's say. He's got dig, he's got four-wheel steer, he's got Ruptures, he's got over 1,000 ounces of torque between his two steering servos, but he's also very long. He has a 13.2-inch wheelbase. He's very wide. I think he's almost a foot wide. Tried to get the top through, very much like how Argentum tried to pass through this. And clips the bottom as well. So they both managed to hit both gates on their way through. 3 should provide no challenge to Zoidberg whatsoever, as he lines up here for the drop through. But if you watch closely, you can see he's using a lot more of the width between the gates than others. We'll spin around here. If you've got four-wheel steer, you might as well use four-wheel steer. Unless the added height of the 2.2 Ruptures, which are very tall, biggest tires in the competition by a fair amount, unless those give his CG some sort of an issue, he should fit here through 4 with no problem at all. His ground clearance is, as you can see there, is pretty high. So long as he gets that angled skid over the edge of that, it hung for a second, but he's now through. Well, he's almost through. He's actually got to use a little bit of a little fancy walk in there to not drop a rear tire down onto that gate marker. Now we'll see how he manages on gate 5, which is very similar in its layout to gate 1, only its approach is almost worse because the angle of that slab tends to push the nose away from the top gate, which kind of pulls the rear tires towards the bottom gate. So Zoidberg is employing some very slow movement and hoping that his weight transfer doesn't out push the tire, and he drops back down onto the marker. Unquestionably, no one has sat down and looked all the way through the stats, but gates 2 and 5 were definitely the more difficult gates to navigate on during this round. Pretty much everyone had a problem with those gates. Zoidberg here using his first use of dig. Probably could have used some dig a little earlier. Big wide tires there. You can see how wide they are to track through that gap. Tiny little hang in the front there, and then he's down and through, which leaves one remaining competitor to run. Tranquish will close out the group of 12. There's a nice close camera flyby by Zoidberg on his way out. So the sole remaining entrant in the group of 12 is the Tranquish. The Tranquish is, of course, a VS4-10 chassis and TRX4 axles, held together in the middle by the cheap clone Hertz Dig gearbox in the center. The combination of that gearbox and the reduction of TRX4 portals in concert with a quite small pinion and an 87 tooth spur gives the Tranquish a 94.5 to 1 final drive ratio, which means his low speed control is significant, and you can see on that VS410 chassis, very flat across the bottom. And the problem that Tranquish has is that his greatest strength is his greatest weakness, which is that lovely, wonderful flat on the bottom chassis. Makes it so his shocks can only mount in that position, which make him higher than he needs to be. And you say, well, how much too high? Well, that will become evident quite shortly here, as he's in a bad way here. He's going to try to rock it down, and honestly, if he had fallen the other way, I think he might have been able to extricate. He's trying to get the tail of that JConcepts shell out from in between those rocks, but it's not happening, and he's going to run out of time. And if you sit there upside down for that long, you get a reset. So I don't think anyone has rolled over at 2. Well, I mean, they have, but no one rolled over and stuck at 2. So the Tranquish now really knows that he has his work cut out for him for the remainder of the course, because he's in a particularly tough group. He's now going to try his hand here at gate 4. Little scrape at the bumper there. Nice low angle here. You can see how he's maneuvering past that. You can see the TRX4 portals just, there was nothing hanging there at all. He just cleanly slid over the edge of that. I would honestly say that between the 3, he managed that the easiest through 4, now coming up through 5. And pretty much everybody has a problem with 5. I should tell editing to keep track of stuff like this, where, like, how many people struck gate 1, how many people struck gate 2. Tranquish is now using his very own version of the rusty technique. The rusty technique, of course, being shift into second gear, into high, and then the motor doesn't have enough torque for the drag brake to hold the rig in place. So around these parts, we don't count that as a reverse. That's just free rolling. So what the Tranquish is doing here is moving backwards using back and forth steering and just applying and releasing dig. Because every time you apply the dig and then release it, the rig can roll back a few millimeters. About 7 or 8 millimeters is what the slop is in the system. So he digs, undigs, digs, undigs, and he will just roll, roll, roll. He's gradually stuttering backwards. And he does indeed take care of gate 5. Coming across the top here. Oh, I should have mentioned another of the, the very similar division. Everyone in this class is fitted in this group is equipped with dig. And the Tranquish has a problem that no one else has had. This is very unique here in that his front tire is now really, really wedged into that groove to where forward motion is no longer possible. So with the finish line just in sight, he has to apply a reverse to unstick himself. That's just sort of bad luck. The Tranquish had a bad luck run there. But let's take a look at the wrap-up here and what we like to call the scores to see how bad was it. So here we have our usual, what we should be accustomed to, results board. Argentum used 2 reverses and struck 1 gate, but succeeded in not rolling over. So he finished his run in round 3 with 11 points. Immediately following him was Zoidberg, who is both a long boy and a wide boy, so he used no reverses, but did strike 2 gates, came nowhere remotely close to rolling over, and ended his run through round 3 with 14 points. Lastest but not leastest, the Tranquish, closing out Group 4 and closing out round 3, had the only bingo of the competition in which he had 1 reverse, 1 gate, and 1 rollover for a total of 19 points. So as you can see, no mathematics required. This was a tight group. There is your winner of Group 4 in Round 3, Argentum the Phoenix, and narrowly squeaked it out as he had very tough competition to go up against. So let's take a look at the scoreboard. Now that we've seen the scorecards, there are the scores as they were run, 11, 14, 19. Worthy of note, those 3 scores combined for less points than Vanimal put up by himself, and that will become important here in a moment. So there we have it. If they're green, they're in round 4. If they're red, they're going to the elimination round with an asterisk next to that. By the way the brackets were laid out, the Tranquish should be in the bottom, as he was the lowest finisher. He was the highest score in his group. But we're not going to do that, because he did really well, and someone else didn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this guy out here. Jake the Snake, who has never attempted to drive a gate and has the least amount of wheel time of any rig here, including things like Lil Fella the Jimny. He's going to come out and just see what he can do on this course. And as you can see, no problem at all through 1. Cuts back a little early there on 2. I do apologize, this is a very non-ASMR rig. He's trying to give himself enough room to dig around. And he cleared the top side, he did it well. But the eagle-eyed among you would see that he struck the low side gate. And really no shame in that, as most people struck gate 2 in some way. Despite being one of the lowest competitors out here, he has no trouble at all navigating back onto the course. Small burst of dig to line himself up for 3. Easily through 3. That rock rears its ugly head again. He's going to wheel back around for his approach at 4. And really just drives up to it. Look at all the loose fill material just pouring off like a waterfall there. Absolutely no issue here. Some unexpected Lexan grinding noises. He's going to come up and take his attack at 5. You might notice, compared to others, Jake is making a very brisk run at this. A very high-pitched tinnitus-inducing run at it. I don't think he's going to be able to pull that wheel up and around there. And he does not. We will definitely chalk this up to youthful exuberance. Jake the Snake has 0 practice, has never actually attempted to go through a gate before, and as was mentioned, has virtually no wheel time. You'll see right here, see there's a youthful indiscretion there. But Jake punches his way down off the course and ran that very quickly. It was like 2.5 minutes. He doesn't have a card, as it was not an official run, but I can tell you that he used no reverses. He did not roll over, and he struck 3 gates for 21 points. So as you look at that scorecard, the only change that will be is a little red line is going to appear through the Vanimal's name, as he is going to be dropped from the competition as finishing that far back, which will prime us for this next elimination round, in which Rusty, Ironsides, and Jolly Green will square off against the one and only Jake the Snake. In the prelude to round 4, elimination number 2, the Snake Charmer. So if you're a person that looks forward to things, there's something for you to look forward to as we move on towards the unpredictable conclusion of the Invitational.